So, we're all girls in this room. I have a question for you. If you had the choice to go to an all-girls school, would you? Why? I've always wondered why we have single-gender schools, and I thought maybe you guys did too. So, in my research, I found out that single-gender schools assume that boys and girls cannot learn together, that they are scientifically unproven to promote academic achievement, and are technically morally incorrect. So let's start with how they have no scientific basis. It's assumed that boys and girls have different brain patterns, meaning they just cannot learn properly in the same room. And here in this picture we see a boys' class and a girls' class. According to Diane Halpern, a board member for the American Council for Coeducational Schooling, there's very little difference between the brains of boys and girls other than volume and growth size. And so that means we are physically and mentally similar. And any difference between the brains is usually because of experiences we've had during life, according to a University of Texas article. We're the same. There's no difference. According to Janet Jackson of the University of Massachusetts, single-gender schools rely on assumptions of heteronormativity. So what does that mean? That means that boys are hard-headed and tough and need a firm hand in order to learn, and girls are delicate and they need a soft-spoken teacher and butterflies, according to the University of Texas, which isn't true. I mean, we're all girls, but we aren't the same. We don't act the same. Our personalities aren't the same. And this doesn't even think about not heterosexual students, but about homosexual and bisexual students, transgender and gender-neutral students. Single-gender schools, they squash your individuality. They don't think about you as a person. But if that's not enough, how about it's just proven to be useless? It said that they improve academics. Can that be proven? No. According to Diane Halpern, students entering same-sex schools are often already more advanced. They're already intelligent, and schools can't take credit for that. On the other hand, coeducational schools are more advantages for students. Lise Elliott, professor of neuroscience at the Chicago Medical School, states that boys do better with girls, and reminds us that school used to be only for men, and that now the proportion of women in every scientific field has risen dramatically in the last 40 years since education became the overwhelming norm. Women now earn 43% of bachelor's degrees in math and 42% in physics. Just like these women here. They're being recognized at L'Oreal's Fellowship for Women, and they're earning $500,000 to continue their studies. Can you really find the flaw in those numbers? But if these schools want to take credit for anything, they can take credit for gender segregation and lack of social skills in their students. Single-gender schools are morally wrong, they socially cripple their students, and technically they are somewhat illegal. They promote gender stereotyping and discrimination. They will make the students think perhaps there's something wrong with the opposite gender. So what if we separated classes by race? Wouldn't that promote racism? Doesn't that sound familiar? We don't want that again. And they prevent social development. We learn how to interact with the opposite sex in coeducational schools. And if we aren't in coeducational schools, we have narrower skill sets and interests, according to Valerie Strauss of the Washington Post. We don't just associate with other girls. We have guy friends, we have brothers, uncles. We know how to interact with them because we're in a coeducational environment. And plus, technically, single-gender educational schools are illegal. According to Title X, as found on Dr. Mary Curtis's and Kristen Grant's of the University of Iowa's website, no person in the U.S. shall on the basis of sex be excluded from participation in, or denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any educational program or activity receiving federal aid. It's a legal matter, and yet we still have single gender schools and classes. So, as I told you, these single gender schools assume that us girls, this would be our normal classroom, and guys would be across the hall or in a different building. We can't learn together. And that, but they don't do anything for us. They don't, there's no advantage for us. There's no difference. And plus they're immoral. They don't help us at all. So when you're older, and when you have kids, if you have the choice of a single gender school, I would suggest not taking it. And maybe there will be a decline in these schools. And overall, think about the tax dollars you would save.